Hi, I'm Robbie McQueen from Wolf EMS. I'm here today to talk about E85 and flex fuel sensors and contamination rate of E85 and the flex fuel sensors. It's not unusual for water to be mixed into fuels, whether it be from condensation, whether it be bad batches of fuel, whether it be just poor fuel systems that absorbs water. So we're going to show that, and then we're going to show what the effect of water is on a flex fuel sensor. So we're just going to prime the pump up and pump it through the sensor just so you can see what actually happens on the flex fuel sensor gauge. So we're pumping it through. It will give us a reading of 83, 84, 85, somewhere around that. It's pump at E85, a slight little bit of variance. So what we've got here is just general household water. I'm just going to put half of that into the petrol, and I'm going to put the other half into the ethanol, into the E85. Now instantly you can see a difference. You can see that the petrol, the water has separated. It's separated and hasn't combined with the petrol, but you'll notice that the ethanol, it's got a cloudy look to it. The water is actually mixed with the ethanol. This was reading E84 a couple of minutes ago. What's it done? It's now gone to E100. This proves that this is not an ethanol sensor. What this is a hydroscopic sensor. This tests how much conductivity of electricity in your fuel. So what that's done there with the little bit of water that I've put in has actually shown you that that's gone to E100. If you tune your car with one of these, anything over E85, if it shows moisture, is an incorrect reading. We're just adding this water, just household tap water. I just want to show what water actually does. You'll see the contamination of fuel coming through. One of the reasons that we conducted this test for ourselves and for the general public was we want to make people aware that if your ECU is tuned using a flex fuel sensor, that the contamination of fuel, you can actually put a more high performance tune in regards to the ethanol content. So if you have E10, E85, E100, if you've got E85 and a little bit of contamination of water, it's going to read E100 and your ECU will actually tune to E100. So this is what we wanted to bring people's awareness to. A flex fuel sensor is a good idea, but they're not an ethanol content sensor. What I'd actually like to do now is remove the pump. I'll drain it. I'll actually pump it clean. So basically I'm pumping air through the system. I'll then put that into a jar of unleaded petrol. What I will do though, just to prove the fact, is that we'll actually put the container into here, pump it clean, and then I'll put some fresh 91 fuel in here so that you can actually look at the content reading. Right, you'll see that with the pump now going, all that we had in it was we had pumped air through it, but there was a residual of fuel in the line, and we're possibly reading around about the E12. So it's slightly contaminated still with E85. I'll now drain this out again and put some fresh 91 in and just do the same test to show you. As you can see with now, you can tell by the colour of the jars that it's a highly pink jar of fuel, which is unleaded. I'm just going to prime that up again. And we're down to reading E3. So we'll drain it dry and then I'll just run it. Right. And we're not pumping anymore, it's just pumping air out now. Right, I'm going to just transfer the two jars over. So all I've done, we haven't got a fuel filter in line. There's no reservoir of fuel in this fuel line. We've made the fuel line so you can actually see them. We're going straight from the pump through the flex fuel sensor back into the jar. We've just pumped that dry. Yes, there'll be some residual fuel in line, but at the end of the day, this is what happens in your car. So I'm just going to start it up. We're priming now any residual fuel through in that litre of E85. and all that was just residual fuel in the lines. So that was draining it, all the lines free. You can't do that in your car. In your car you have fuel filters, you have meters of fuel line. So the contamination rate is amazing. If you're using a flex fuel sensor in the aspect of, I can fill up my tank full of E85, I can drive down the road, I can put petrol in it, I can do E85 again. You actually need to dry the tank out, you need to dry the lines, you need to dry the fuel pumps. The contamination of fuel, just in lines, you saw that the little bit of fuel that we had left in the lines here was enough to just kill that 1 litre of fuel. The flex fuel sensor is actually doing its job. One of the disadvantages is that your detonation factor and power factor of that E85 hasn't changed, right? The hydroscopic content of it has, but the actual detonation factor and power factor hasn't changed. So the actual reading is only just showing you what the hydroscopic value is.